for the 2 losses for the Packers this year.
I just want to say it. Zoinks!
Ruh-roh, Raggy. I don't know what happened.
Uh, uh, I mean, the way that team was prepared or unprepared and coached today, that very well could be the case. I mean, it was just Halloween, so
I'm just saying.
yeah. Yeah, to answer Dylan's question, that's just the thing is the times that we've played against what I consider actual good quarterbacks, which if you think about our season so far, who would you count as that? Carson Wentz and Phillip Rivers. Maybe Kirk Cousins if he's on, but he wasn't on week 2, right? He's been pretty decent until today. He was pretty decent for the month of October. But today he went back to being who, he has typically been. So with that aside, if you count the quarterbacks that we've played, well, in Matthew Stafford, he likes to put up a lot of stats and numbers, but, I don't consider him an actual upper echelon quarterback. He doesn't win big games, and he just likes to put up the numbers. But like I said, when you talk about, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers were a playoff team last year. Carson Wentz, that team has been pretty solid. He's been he was almost an MVP until he was an MVP candidate until he got hurt, a couple seasons ago. Those are good quarterbacks.
I would argue in that season, considering that somebody had won the MVP missing 4 games, that he should have won the MVP because he only missed 3 games. Like, people forget Tom Brady that the year before won the MVP and was suspended the first 4 games of the season. And so the fact that Carson Wentz gets injured at the end of week 13 and misses 3 games, come on. Like, he had 38 touchdowns at that point and like 4,000 some yards. And the reason that they went on to win the Super Bowl was because the position he put the team in to be able to go 1-2 and still make the playoffs and have the first round bye and home field advantage. Like, I know everybody wants to put the roses around freaking, Foles for what he did, and you can't take away what he did. But if Foles would have had to play the whole season, there would have been no Foles magic with the Super Bowl ring. Let's be clear about that. All right. Like,
Nice tangent. That's all right though. You got to get that. You got to get those jabs in there. I get it. But going back to what I was going to say in terms of Dylan's question, right? So when you think about it, we haven't, in my mind, played the best quarterback so far. I mean, we just haven't. And now we're talking about Kyle Allen. Well, are we going to throw some exotic stuff at him? I mean, why not? He's a rookie quarterback, but we might be able to get away with the way that this defense has been playing for the most part this season with doing that against Kyle Allen because he isn't. He's a rookie, or he's a young quarterback. He's not proven by any means. Although some would argue that he might be the future Carolina quarterback, and Cam Newton has played his last snap as a Panther. We'll see. That might be true. And it could end up being that's how this plays out. But as of right now, I'm not worried about Kyle Allen as a quarterback, and chalk him up with a lot of the other quarterbacks that this defense has played against pretty well, this far. And they haven't had to do a whole lot of exotic stuff against those quarterbacks. So do I think that they're going to? I think they might have some wrinkles. I think after this loss, they're definitely going to, look themselves in the mirror and think, all right, maybe we got to switch some things up. But I definitely don't think they're going to be doing it because it's Kyle Allen coming in and not Cam Newton, specifically. That's just my 2 cents on that. I just think that, they're going to switch some things up because they need to, not necessarily because of the quarterback. And they've been just fine against other quarterbacks that are of the same ilk as Kyle Allen so far this season.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think whatever they're going to do defensively, I think this goes back to what we talked about in the last segment, really, Ryan. It's about, I don't know how much, what their overall scheme plan, like week to week, is really like changes that much just based on, okay, I don't know if they really scheme for one player. I think they look at what the offense does as a whole, and you need to, like, what are you most worried about? Well, number one is going to be Christian McCaffrey, right? Number two is going to be Curtis Samuel, if he's healthy, which he was this week, so he should be healthy next week, because that's who has the best rapport with Kyle Allen. Then you worry about DJ Moore,
and then Greg Olsen.
Yeah, then it's Greg Olsen. That's kind of the way the order goes. And so I really don't think it does you any good to try to worry about Kyle Allen and putting pressure and scheming to, quote-unquote, put pressure and confuse Kyle Allen, because it's not, let's be real, it's not that hard to confuse an undrafted first-year quarterback because, he's not a rookie, but he didn't have a rookie season because of his active game status. So he's a first-year undrafted quarterback. Like, it doesn't take – you don't have to go out of your way, to confuse the kid. You can do some pretty basic stuff because he hasn't seen everything. And so, therefore, I think it's kind of a waste of time and your mental power to try to focus on confusing him. I think the focus is going to be on – the guys I just mentioned, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I agree. So let's keep moving forward here. So as far as MVPs, man, I don't know. Is there really an MVP that you can actually
It's on the other
name?
side of the ball. I would have to say it's Phillip Rivers and Austin Eckler, Hunter Henry. And that's the offensive MVPs of the game, and Bosa and Ingram and that entire secondary, because as much as Bosa and Ingram got their names called, that secondary put hands on those receivers and kept them jammed up. Because even the times where Aaron had his typical, there were times where this offensive line absolutely did its job, right? And Aaron still ended up getting sacked or having to throw the ball. Like, there was one time where he held the ball for, I think, 10.2 seconds and then dumped it off, and it ended up being no gain to Jimmy Graham. That's secondary, man. And so, yeah, I would say it's Bosa and Ingram and then the entire secondary for the defense. It's really their entire defense as a whole. They played as a solid unit. When the rush couldn't get there, they still got coverage sacks. When the coverage might have maybe been given something out on the back end, it didn't matter because the rush was getting there fast enough. They played a complete defensive game, and they stuffed the run. So, I mean, those are the names, but really you can give it to their entire defensive unit. You got to take their hats off to them. They had a great game plan. They played as a unit. And when one faltered, the other was right there to pick it up so that there wasn't a big play or, momentum wasn't given up. So you really got to give the hats off to them as an entire unit, really, honestly.
Yeah, I'll add to that. You obviously just mentioned all the players. I'm going to give their coaching staff also a game ball, MVP, whatever you want to call it, because they clearly had their players motivated. They made changes that they felt were necessary this week, and getting a new offensive coordinator who did a heck of a job calling a game plan and putting players in position to succeed and hit this defense, the Packers that is, in ways that he knew would expose and exploit them in their weaknesses, and ultimately kept Aaron Rodgers and the offense off the field, kept them out of rhythm. And then when they did have the ball, the defense for the Chargers, they came to play. And so, yeah, good kudos to the entire Chargers coaching staff. And there's really no MVPs for the Packers today. So that is that. And moving forward here, let's talk a little bit about any of the other stuff around the league real quick. I don't want to go too in-depth because I want to keep this more Packers-centric. But I do want to note that all the teams from the NFC North lost today. So in terms of division status and in that competition, nothing was really lost there. The Vikings lost to the Chiefs. That was an AFC loss as well. So like the Packers losing to the Chargers, Detroit, they lost to Oakland. Again, AFC loss. The only one that really I think is going to hurt the most is going to be the Bears, who lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously in the NFC. That's going to impact them a lot more than the 3 losses from the other 3 teams to the AFC West. So either way, no one gained real ground in terms of the actual record itself in the NFC North because everyone else lost. I think other games of note is the fact that Seattle won in overtime against Tampa Bay. So
that's surprising because I've had them blowing them out, and Tampa Bay came to win. They came to play, and they were up in Seattle. So that's pretty impressive, even though they still lost.
Yeah, and then it happened on Thursday, but San Francisco squeaking by. It wasn't squeaking, but it was pretty close, a lot closer than what people
they
probably expected.
by 25-28 when you're supposed to be the big powerhouse of the NFC. And it's the freaking Cardinals. Come on.
No, yeah, it's squeaking by, I guess.
That's
you're right.
Squeaking by.
They were winning by more than that. Arizona made a push, but yeah, you're right. I mean, for everyone that says that they're the best team in the NFC, and I'm like, well, they haven't really played anyone. Well, it's not like the Arizona Cardinals or anybody, and they barely beat them. But again, like you said, Week 12, that'll be the real test. They start to play some pretty tough teams here coming up, so we'll start to see who they really are. I'm sure they have a lot of swagger and confidence, though, being undefeated, so that'll help them going into those matchups. And
I'm going to jump in real quick for this scenario for everybody, and I want your comments on it too, Ryan. Would you the Niners and the Packers are bizarro, not only schedule, but the way they are record-wise, right? The Packers have played their toughest part of their season has ended right now. The Chargers was considered the first half. This Charger game was considered like the last game of this very tough first half of the season gauntlet that they were on. Their back half of their schedule.
That was going into the season, correct?
Into the season.
Chargers were a playoff team last year. People forget that.
And it's looking even more soft when you look at the records of the teams they have to play going forward now, and it can change because everything changes week to week. But right now, as the 49ers had the soft part of their schedule for the first 9 weeks, and it gets much more difficult this next half, okay? So would you rather, Ryan, have the Packers being 7-2 through the rough part of their schedule and really kind of having some struggles to be able to learn early, and the late bye, FYI, because I believe that factors in too. When we're talking playoffs and all this shit, the byes, when they happen, matter, right? So would you rather be in the Packers situation that you have right now, Ryan, or would you rather be the 49ers? The early bye and the 8-0 start with the easy part of your schedule. That's the scenario here. Would you rather? And everybody out there, you can always email us with your comments through the week, and we'll get back to you, and we'll comment back. It's First and Goal Radio or First and Goal Podcast at yahoo.com, First and Goal Podcast at yahoo.com, or you can get us on Twitter at First and Goal Pod, at Packers365, at UPJ33. This one stands, so get at us. Would you rather? Would you rather, Ryan?
All right.
And I'm going to tweet that out on a poll right now while you're talking.
So here's my answer to your question. I would rather be the Packers in terms of looking, like we said earlier, looking long-term here, right? The ultimate goal here is to win a Super Bowl. And I believe that getting these types of victories in these battle-tested type games is only going to benefit them in the long run. And having a loss, now, again, I'd rather have a win than a loss. I get that. But every now and then, you're going to suffer a loss like they did today. And hopefully then, good teams, at least, this is what happens, is it refocuses them, it re-energizes them, it remotivates them. I'd rather them get that now out of the way and keep pressing forward. Like you said, this was the toughest part of the schedule. Well, look at teams like, look what's going on right now. Although the Patriots just did score a touchdown, it was 17-0.